Hi everybody, welcome to the show, and I've been joined today by the director of Premiere Play for Legend Story Studios, Trevor Baker. Trevor, thank you so much for giving me your time tonight.
Thanks, Barry. Yeah, happy to be joining you.
Brilliant. Yeah. After our interview at the Calling in Liverpool, I tried to plug you for information about Worlds. And you very kindly said that after the keynote speech was all said and done, that you would give me another interview, and you would share more information, about Worlds. You were very tight-lipped, and everyone was coming up to you at Liverpool and trying to get it out of you. But you were going straight from Liverpool to Japan. Was that to finalise Worlds, or was that to sort out the new premiere event in Tokyo?
Yeah. So for those of you close enough to me, you knew that I was pretty much on a plane directly from to Liverpool to Kansai airport. So we had we were actually pretty far along in that process in terms of finalizing some arrangements with the tournament organizer and with the venue. But just like when you when you buy a house, right? Like you got to go and do a little inspection, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did, right? I went there, had some very productive meetings, and did the proper site visit, site inspection for both the venue in Osaka, as well as the so that was Intex Osaka,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Bella Sale Takadano Baba up in Tokyo. So it was a little bit of dotting the I's and crossing the T's, but it was very much in the sort of like formality stage, right? Like, you can view things through 3D, 3D virtual tours and floor plans and stuff, but and we're pretty good at assessing things from that to a high degree, but there is still that element of being able to walk the player's journey, walk the journey from maybe from the metro station or from the hotel, kind of see what that sort of journey looks like entering the hall. Where's the toilets? Where's the food services?
Yeah.
All these kinds of things. So it really does help you get a good feel for what the event's going to look like. So yeah.
Nice, brilliant. So we can see that you're at home. You get to put your feet up after a very successful Pro Tour Los Angeles. I was very jealous. I was watching all the streams that came through that Ethan and Savage Feats did with AGE. It looked fantastic. Did everything go as planned?
I mean, yeah, I think largely, I mean, better than, right? Like that finals, right? Like you can't script anything better than that, right?
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's probably the best game that's ever been streamed. It was just like, oh my God, what could you ask for more?
Yeah, I was I was kind of running around a little bit, but then right before the end of the finals, I went back into the production room where Ethan and the rest of the casters were, and they were literally on the edge of their seats. I mean, you had Ethan there, like, and for some people on the outside of this space, they might not think like that the producer is that in touch with the intricacies of the game, right? But like Ethan is very, very, very invested and involved in what's going on in Flesh and Blood, right? Like he knew the play lines of what was happening, which is like awesome as a producer, that you can see that he's on the edge of his seat, just like Punkage and Sam were not calling the match, so they were also kind of like hovered around, and really it was a beautiful moment. I was mostly just thinking, oh my gosh, these guys are so into it. I really hope one of them doesn't kick a wire or something like that, before the finals, because I mean it was tense back there. It was tense, and it was just amazing to hear everyone, everyone's gears turning like in real time, where they were like, his only out is the Sigil of Solus.
Yeah.
His only out is the Sigil of Solus. And you could hear everyone reach that conclusion, and it was just really cool when that all happened. So yeah, great times.
I didn't know if Max had another out like he did versus Josh Lau's game, and he had that out all planned out, and you just like, oh my god, has he got it in hand again? And when he looked at that card, he just took too long on it, and it was he's not got it. He didn't slow it down.
No, masterful play by both Arthur and Max. Masterful play by both of them, it just seemed like a big brains play, like the turn before when he doesn't use the sink blow, and saves it because he knows that he's going to need it later. Blocks with one of the spare dragons, and it's just really cool to see. I mean, Arthur knew his line to find an out to win the game, and that's what he played to. And sometimes that's just what it comes down to, right? Like. You find your narrow path through, and that's all that it matters, so really cool to see. Great finals.
So let's touch base again on your title, director at Premier Play. How did you get the title, get the job? What's your background? Because sort of like I know you, and the people sort of like that have helped you out at various events know you and your team, Nico and Tom. But sort of like, the first glimpse players really got to see you was when you were part of the keynote speech, when you were talking about the upcoming events. So, like, how did you get this role?
Yeah. I mean, and exactly that. I do kind of just enjoy kind of conducting the orchestra a little bit from behind the scenes. But so before this, I have a long history in trading card games, just like I think a lot of the people that have found Flesh and Blood as well. Long history of doing things with Magic the Gathering prior to the pandemic. I oversaw kind of the event production team within CFB Events, so it was the company that was responsible for the Grand Prix programs for Magic the Gathering for a number of years. We did 50 plus events around the world. It's a great time. But then March of 2020, the pandemic hit, and pretty much the entire industry was turned upside down, right? So totally. All of this incredible work that we did at the time was just instead we were going back through and using my favorite French word, force majeure, and just force majeuring our way out of a lot of venue contracts that we were just simply not able to continue with, right? Because all of the conditions that were in play made it impossible for events to continue for anywhere from that point, 1 to 2 years before things even started to slowly ramp back up. And then through that, had a mutual friend that told me about Flesh and Blood, and he was like, hey, maybe you keep an eye on it. Maybe it's something that you want to be invested in the future. See if it's something that you want to be a part of. But at the time, right, like the world was basically like shut down, and I have a friend that's trying to sell me on a Kiwi card game that I never heard of before. So I'm like, all right, I guess we'll see what happens. Definitely enjoyed some of the time at home with my one kid at the time. I have two now. Then heading into 2022, I started getting a bit more involved. I organized a battle hardened here in Portland, and then from there, had a friend that was like, yeah, you should go and meet some of the folks at the studio, so then an opportunity popped up where I could meet them at another event, and we just started chatting, and like any of these things, it's kind of a complex process, to figure out if we're aligned, if we're on the same page, if this is something where we're kind of vibing, that sort of thing. I feel very fortunate to be at a point in my life where I can just be doing the things that I want to be doing, not because I need to be doing them, right? Like that's a big thing, right? And so
Yeah.
yeah, for me it was like, all right, let's see if we're kind of aligned with how we want to move forward. It takes two to tango. So and then yeah, by the end of 2022 I had signed on, and then yeah, 2023 was really the first year that I started to be able to get some runway, get my feet underneath myself and start building up the team. So then quickly thereafter brought Nico onto the team, Tom joined the team, and then late last year Alex Watkins also joined the team as well for conventions. So technically my title is Director of Premier Play and Conventions, although I don't really feel like I've earned the convention part yet, because we're still doing a lot of work there to make that a reality. But
the first one's going to be UKGE, so that's going to be really exciting. That's not very far away at all.
Yeah, we're only like 3 months away from that, so maybe not even. It's UKGE. We've got Gen Con obviously later this year.
Yep.
So that'll be a lot of fun. We were just at Gamma, and there's a lot to be said on that front. But yeah, we had to use a lot of the time last year to really just build the infrastructure, build the processes, kind of come up with a little bit of our template and approach for how we wanted to see these events. I feel like, yeah, we're now just starting to kind of turn the corner a little bit and hit our stride as far as where things are.
Yeah.
When I first started, we had all of about 1 or 2 months worth of like runway as far as like what events were coming up, and so now we're actually at a point where people can actually see until the end of the calendar year. I mean, we still have a few holes that we need to fill, and I'm sure you're going to ask me questions about that later. But at least on a sort of like macro level, the fact that people have visibility now to December of 2024 is, that it took a while to get there. So
yeah, that was one of the major complaints that we had last year. The players weren't given enough time to sort of like, save up, find the accommodation, find the flights, because, everybody knows the more time you got, the cheaper it is, for when you make your plans. So yeah, when you came out the gate swinging sort of like January, and you laid out a template for a good sort of like half the year, I mean, sort of like, the community was just like, thank God for that. And like you were saying, you've got more, it's all set in stone now. So you just go, well, we know when Nationals is going to be, we know when Worlds is going to be. You've changed it sort of like when sort of like Road to Nationals is, Pro Quest skirmishes. So we've got that template for the whole year now. And then sort of like, I suppose sort of like it will just roll through yearly. So, we can get into a rhythm of it as players.
Yeah. That's definitely the goal, is to kind of get this to a sustainable place. In order to get back to the 2 Pro Tours for 2024, it did require reworking the calendar a little bit. One of the big things we needed to do is we needed to create enough space between National Championship and Worlds. If you go back to 2021, there was no World Championship, but National Championships happened very, very late in the calendar year. Like it was, I think RTN season was like in August and September, and Nationals were like October, November, something like that, maybe even into early December. And there was no Worlds. And then 2022 comes around, and mind you, I'm still not part of the team then, but things now start to shift up a little bit. World Championship is in November, but the national season was still taking place in like September, September-ish. Yeah. And RTN season was like in July. And so still very, very compressed in the back of the year. And then, 2023 comes around. Obviously, it was a bit easier calendar, just in the sense that you had one less Pro Tour. So it was kind of easier for all the pieces to fit. But even then, national season was still kind of more like August, and Worlds was in November, and still that time frame felt a little bit too tight at close to 3 months, a little bit less than 3 months. So I feel like where we're at in 2024 is about where it should be, where you've got, the impact there obviously is that Road to Nationals now basically starts the year, right? So you kind of have this track, right? That Road to Nationals, World Championship. It's almost like a year-long track because you're playing Road to Nationals in February, right? February into early March. You've got national champs in mid-June to early July, and then we've got the World Championship the first weekend in November. So I'm quite happy with how that is in place now, and people have adequate time to be able to plan their holidays, plan their vacation, book their plane tickets, buy their hotels, and this sort of thing. So, but it definitely took some time to get these seasons to fit. Yeah, that's 2024, and I think for 2025 we'll just continue to tighten things up a little bit and make sure that we have it so that we don't waste any weekends in the year.
Yeah. So the thing is, you can use this data set to see where you're going. Well, I think the change from 3 weeks for I call them a tournament season. So Road to National season, sort of like ProQuest, it's kind of like this 3 weeks, condensed, sort of like events is definitely better than the 4 weeks. Because we literally just rolled from, you rolled from one season to the next season. You were just like, where do I get my break as a competitive player? And you're just like, are these players going to suffer from burnout because they're rolling on from one to the next? But, we've had a nice little break, sort of like from Road to National seasons. ProQuest is going to start in a couple of weeks. I mean, that's a nice break, and it just depends if people want to go to the extra events. So talking about extra events. Okay, in less than 2 weeks, we've got the big holiday event that you announced sort of like last year, calling Phuket, 5th to the 7th of April. I take it it's all ready to go. It's sort of like you've dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's. You're just like waiting to get there.
Yeah, mostly, yeah. We've got kind of this all pretty dialed in as far as Phuket goes. It's going to be a lot of fun. Excited to be bringing the calling to Thailand. We have a very resilient community in Southeast Asia, especially in Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore. You can add Vietnam, Hong Kong, and Indonesia, and the list goes on. But specifically Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, as far as the stuff that's kind of just right, in that sort of cluster. For me, this event is kind of like the perfect blend of holiday, but also for the region. And I think it's going to be a great time. We've got just a lot of cool things, planned for it with it being in a hotel. It's going to be in a nice, carpeted ballroom, and it's going to be a couple hundred people. It's not going to be a huge show, but we're not trying to make it something that it isn't, right? Like this should be a fun environment where 200 to 300 people show up. We have an awesome prize pool. We have an awesome schedule of side events. If you were just in Pro Tour Los Angeles, it was a busy, bustling hall with over 1,000 people there, and events launching every half hour, and just a lot of activity happening. This is where you get to kind of kick your feet up, play in a CC event, see it'll be kind of the last dance for Dromai, and you get to just have a good time, have a few drinks. If you bought one of the Marvel packages, we've got a buffet lunch for you every day downstairs, and there'll be free coffee and tea breaks, and some snacks, and it's just going to be a good time. I think that's the big thing, is we want to kind of create a little different vibe, and just allow people to really enjoy the sort of flesh and blood lifestyle. I'd say it's just you got to be surrounded by people that you enjoy being around, and you get to see the world doing it. So, yeah.
So do you envision sort of like, was it more of a, like you said that people were talking about a holiday event, that's how this came about, but can you see this coming about if the venue fits the theme? So, you're saying you're at a hotel, You
Yeah.
know, I'm sure sort of like you've got a Rolodex of venues, sort of like, you know, there you go. Oh, this is quite a nice place. I'll keep this in my back pocket. Do you sort of like see this as something going forward? You know, not yearly, but, you know, perhaps yearly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Probably the big thing for me over the past year-ish has been kind of just taking a moment to reconsider venues that I might not have considered in my previous line of work just because maybe we were sized out of it and that sort of thing. There's a lot of there's a lot of venues that I think, especially in hotels, that can achieve what we're looking to achieve. And in many cases, the comforts of being in a hotel sometimes outweigh the sort of like, you know, grandiose nature of being in a convention center, right? Like last year, we were for U.S. Nationals, we were in Las Vegas, and I think that event was just like well loved by everyone because the Westgate there was connected to a convention a ballroom space that was carpeted. You never had to walk outside. You could stay in the hotel, and it was just just like a well appreciated event. So we try and keep an open mind with this sort of stuff. Obviously, in some cases it doesn't work. Like in Europe for a pro tour, like with Amsterdam, we're going to be at the Rye, right? And that's just it's just practical. It's where we've got to be. Fortunately, there's a lot of hotels nearby as well, so you can still stay in walking distance and then walk to Rye every day. But that's kind of the fun part of the job is there's definitely a puzzle, right? And it's with different pieces in different places of the world with where the puzzle pieces and how they can fit into the big picture, they change based on the month, the availability, the pricing, the size. There's just a lot of dynamics, but it makes it a lot of fun. It makes honestly, we're almost done with everything in 2024, and I'm very excited to be able to turn the page and start working on 2025 here in the coming weeks. So,
oh my God, there is no stopping. Let's touch on Battle Hardens. So you we've got so many Battle Hardens now. It's opened up. You said that there was going to be a lot of Battle Hardens this year. With everything you've announced, there's another 18 yet to be announced. So just looking at the schedule, at the schedule on the on the website, we're looking at each region getting a Battle Hardened each month. Is that the plan going forward? So if we say Americas, Europe, and Asia Pacific,
approximately. So keep in mind that anything that's a calling Pro Tour World Championship, those already have a Battle Hardened that's a part of their program, right? So the 50 number that we talk about originally, you take 18 right off the top. So then you're down to 32. Okay. And then across those 32, then you're dividing that 32 across a bunch of other sort of like standalone Battle Hardened events. We did announce a bunch during the keynote. Yeah. And over the coming weeks, you'll see a lot of those details start to populate onto our website. I think the actual number, and this is very fluid, is actually closer to like 12 that we still need to publish based on how things overlap with what's already been announced and what has already happened and these kinds of things. But and you will see some weekends where there's a double Battle Hardened weekend or even a triple Battle Hardened weekend.
We've got that in June and July. So June has got Athens, Singapore, Las Vegas all on the same weekend. Bali, Bologna, and New Jersey in July. It's great. You can go from one stream to the next. You can pick up your fab wherever you want to watch it. It's fantastic. Was that on purpose, or is that just happenstance? It just happens to align that way with venue bookings.
It's a little bit of both. So when we were looking at that sort of June, July time frame, there's not a lot of spare weekends. So we didn't really want a lot of battle hardens running during national season. Of course, in the U.S. is a little bit of a unicorn in the sense that the U.S. goes first, and the U.S. can kind of sustain some of that activity of having a BH because its national championship kind of takes place, and people from the U.S. are probably not going overseas for like another national championship. So we do have a few other like Seattle Tacoma runs during national season, but aside from that, most national championships around the world, there's no battle hardens running during those 3 weeks, which then means, all right, how do we fit some battle hardens into MST season? Well, one of them is to do it before, so we have some that sort of first, second week of June with Vegas, Athens, Singapore, and then we do it again, New Jersey, Bologna, Bali. Part of the reasoning behind that, though, is we aren't really expecting too many people to travel around the world for battle hardens so much as they would be for like a calling or Pro Tour Worlds, right? Like the battle hardens primarily are for the sort of more regional, local community, right? So, I mean, I think that while there are players that definitely will travel outside of their region for a battle hardened, we don't feel that we are forcing people to like make much of a choice there, right? Like if you live in Europe, you're probably only seriously going to consider, Athens and Bologna, right? Like for a battle hardened, right? I think we will continue to see more like double, maybe a few triple weekends like we have here, but there will definitely be a fair share of double battle hardened weekends. I think that's just the nature of it with how the calendar is. The thing we don't really talk about on the calendar is there's also just other sort of weeks of the 52 weeks in the year. We just lose some weeks, right? Like due to Christmas, due to New Year's, Easter, and obviously pre-release weekend is a big weekend where we're not going to run Premier organized play during, because that's the weekend where you need to get out to your local game store and play Flesh and Blood. So you take out the pre-release weekends, and then you take out all these other weekends, and then before you know it, your 52 weekends in the year gets down to like 40 to 42 to 43, something like that, like usable weekends. To fit everything, it's simply just not possible without having some overlaps there. So,
talking of Premier events, the Premier event for Tokyo is coming up with the release of Set 13, part of the Misfile. That announcement, the video was outstanding. I was just like, oh my god, the reveals, like the video reveals are getting so much better. Sort of like, everybody, every time you do something, you step your game up. I thought the release for Heavy Hitters video was just awesome. And seeing the part of the Misfile one, I was just like, oh my god, I can't even imagine what it'd be like in the room, because the Heavy Hitter reveal was brilliant. But are we like Tampa Set 14? Are we going to see sort of like maybe Europe get Set 15, and then sort of like alternate it that way? Because obviously we started with the Uprising Premier one. Was that in Madrid? Is that the plan? So each region at some point in the year will get one?
Yeah, that is kind of the mold of the 2025 schedule at the moment. 2024 a little bit tricky in the sense that we had the Celebrational down in Queenstown, and we also needed to do this whole this MST big drop with the Japanese localization in Tokyo, right? Like that just has to happen, right? Like that's and then with how the scheduling worked out, then the US naturally got the Set 14 in Tampa Bay. It would be our goal for 2025 for Set 15, or worst case Set 16 to be in Europe. But
nice.
I think it's a high degree of likelihood that Set 15's world premiere would be in Europe, just with how with how the calendar breaks down, especially with how we're trying to rotate things around the world. So, yep. Can't tell you what weekend, can't tell you where it's going to be, but if you are just trying to, kind of, poke my ear and pick my brain and that sort of thing, yeah, of course, we're trying to be like, representative around the world. So, just kind of turned out that this year we kind of had two events that were in more of the oceanic APAC region, which worked out. So
yeah, but the thing is, you're trying to enter that region, so it makes sense to go. We're going to have some big events. We're going to draw in these new players, and why not?
Yeah.
The lead up even to set 13, I was just like, that just sounds awesome. You're getting sort of like the sort of like pre-constructed decks a week early to try and draw new players in. Sort of like the Welcome to Wraith. Ira decks are being played 2 weeks before. I was just like, man, I would love to actually be a player right at the beginning, like when Welcome to Wraith came out. I joined sort of like Arcane Rising Unlimited and Crew Release, and that was pretty amazing then. But to be, to have it as essentially a new game entering your gaming arena, I just think it's.
I mean, I got to ask you, which hero is your favorite hero from MST?
I'm not an assassin player. I quite like Zen. Yeah, I like the crowd. Okay. I like the tigers. I really like the tigers. Okay. I tried to play it before, but obviously it's not quite working. But yeah, I really like that mechanic. I do like illusionist as well, so I am sort of like intrigued to see what Enigma can bring. She kind of like touches on spectras again, sort of like in spectral shields. But there's so many cards in the illusionist package that basically aren't even touched, like spectral prowlers and everything else that came out before. You just like. I mean, we're gonna start seeing those cards being used.
Yeah. No, that's good. I it's amazing. There's a very good level of support across all the heroes. Yeah. I'm very excited for how this one is going to play out, and obviously, huge shout out to our marketing team with the brilliant trailer on Misfail. That was seductive.
It was just awesome. Thing is, it's just like, you've set the bar again. So now that that team's got to go, well, you've got to top that. You've got to top it. But it's just outstanding. Even sort of like I wouldn't even know how you move artwork, how you move a still picture. Even with the when you go to the hero select on the website and those heroes are moving, just like I mean, there's some very talented people around, and you've got a very talented crew. So yeah, well done on those reveals. Yeah. Let's. So which hero are you playing then? As you asked me, because you've probably may have seen, you've got more knowledge of what the heroes are like. Have you dabbled with any of them yet? Have you been allowed to, pick up the cardboard and sling some at a person?
So all the actual cardboard is down in New Zealand. So I don't get to play with them so early, but I do, because like Nico and myself and the rest of the team, we have to be designing the events, right? So like we do get a bit of a glimpse in terms of what's upcoming, so that we can design a lot of the events and the tournaments and those sorts of things. When I saw some of the original stuff come through, I'm a huge fan of Illusionist, and I just thought Enigma was awesome. But then I saw the trailer, and news swept me up off my feet. So let's see how it goes. I mean, I thought I was I thought I was just fully all in on Enigma, but I think I'm gonna have to give New a look. Let's see. So
when I saw New, I come from playing Legend of the Five Rings. So when I saw New, I automatically saw Scorpion Clan. So if anybody plays L5R, that's what hit me, and I was just like, yeah, that's not my bag. But yeah, it's sort of like it's the imagery of it. I was just like, yeah, I can see a lot of players going for it. I was hoping for a samurai, but yeah, I'm very taken by Zen and the Crouching Tigers that are coming.
Yep. So yeah, there's something for everyone for sure.
Talking about sort of like you touched on when you saw the cards, when you saw the artwork, and you're thinking about sort of like, designing and theming the event. What are we expecting? Obviously, sort of like Worlds. When we entered Worlds, we had that massive banner for Dashio. I was blown away just seeing it go up. I didn't even witness it really, sort of like going up the steps on the first day. That was only the second day when I walked into the arena. But are we going for something like that on the premiere event? Something that's going to take your breath away?
Yeah, there will definitely be some cool stuff we'll do in Amsterdam. We'll definitely have. Amsterdam will be the show that will kind of be the sort of like next way that we can highlight MST. Of course, we will have a beautiful world premiere in Tokyo, but in terms of like the set design, where we kind of do something a little bit special for the sort of like graphic presentation and build out of the show. Amsterdam will have a sort of stage set that will be reminiscent of Part the Misfail. So I think there's a lot of cool things that you'll get to see both in Tokyo and in Amsterdam. So yeah, the artwork is just gorgeous. The artwork is incredible. I need some of it for my house. So yeah.
Yes, if your boss lets you. I need a man cave, and then I can put all my stuff in it. So you talk about sets. So I did notice on the keynote speech you had a heavy hitter set. We had the bright light set. So we are going to see a Part the Misfail set. Do these get taken back, or do these make their way into sort of like the disposal area of the convention centre? Because that dash banner, I was like, what's going to happen with that? And it was like, yeah, that's going in the bin.
They get. Some of the stuff just gets like responsibly, discarded, but a lot of other assets are totally reusable. Nice. So, it's a mix, honestly. But something like the big exterior dash that was at Barcelona, that's obviously very custom to the venue in Barcelona, and that thing was huge. It's like, I think it was like 8 meters tall or something for the big column wrap. So like nobody can fit that anywhere, right? So like that's just going to get is going to get discarded, right? Like after Barcelona. So
it's that big banner when you walk up the stairs. You have that massive.
Yeah. Well, that one is still big too. That one's 6 meters by 4 meters. So that's it's funny. We talk about this a little bit internally. You think that the size is like really big when you're talking about it, but once you fly a banner in the air, it doesn't actually look that big. So you actually end up having to design things that are much bigger than you think, because once you actually put it into the sky, it maybe doesn't look that big, but then you pull it back down and you're just like, wow, this is massive. So there is kind of a little bit of a psychological thing going on there, where it's like, oh yeah, I could just fit that dash banner in my house, and you're like, no, you definitely can't.
That's the entire frontage of your house. There we go.
Yeah. You think you can, you definitely can't. But So we are careful with some of that stuff, because we don't want we don't want that stuff like just randomly ending up on like a secondary market or something like that absolutely. Later. That's not the intention. So, so we make sure those things get properly discarded.
Cool. So we touched on Protour Amsterdam. Sort of like we had a call in Utrecht before. Now we're going back to Holland again for Amsterdam. A fantastic country to go to. The transport links are amazing. Sort of like Schiphol, sort of like one of the biggest transport hubs in the world. Their metro network is absolutely phenomenal. People should have no trouble sort of like traveling around. You said that there's sort of like hotels right next to the venue.
Yep.
What other locations were considered? Was it always going to be in Amsterdam when you did when you do your scouting trip to do Utrecht? Did you think, right, we'll keep this in the back pocket, we'll look at coming back here?
So I was not involved when Utrecht was a calling. That was before my time slightly, but I am familiar with the Utrecht venue as well. But no, so as far as Amsterdam goes, with any of these marquee events, we are always soliciting bids from multiple cities, multiple venues. Even if we have kind of a favorite in the back of our mind, we have to have like an open mind with these sorts of things, because between availability, the hall that's available, the size, the pricing, the dates, these kinds of things, like you kind of get yourself in a lot of trouble sometimes when you just box yourself into one venue, one city, one thing, because you kind of lose perspective for what things should actually cost, or what your true options are, or what a venue should really look like, or what's acceptable as far as transit and hotels and accommodations and things like that. So when it came down to Amsterdam, there were like 3 to 4 serious contenders in the end. And yeah, part of it is that we've got to kind of leverage these offers against kind of one another to come up with what's the best opportunity. And in the end, Amsterdam was definitely one of our top candidates. We, as much as I'm sure we will go back to France at some point for like a pro event in the future. France was just off the table as far as things go because of the Olympics. So the Olympics start in France, kind of actually from Amsterdam onward, and that was just not going to be a suitable environment for this year's Pro Tour. So with that one off the table, we kind of oscillated around a few other choices, and yeah, Amsterdam's going to be a great fit. Yeah, venues beautiful. As you've mentioned, KLM and Schiphol are like one of the largest international airports in the world. So yeah, it's going to be a good option for folks. You'll be able to fly into Schiphol and take a train straight to the venue, get off, walk to your hotel, walk to the venue. It'll be all good. And if you really want to, you can also stay down in the city center, and then you can just take the local rail service down to the venue every day if you want. But I think a lot of people do prefer to be walking distance to the venue. So I do expect that people will be booking the accommodation that is kind of adjacent to the venue. We do have a hotel room block website that'll be launching over the next week or so. We'll get that published just before the start of ProQuest season for ProQuest Amsterdam, ProQuest Season 5. So that way, as people start qualifying, they can go and book their hotel. So,
are we going to see this for Worlds as well? Sort of like, obviously, we've had the hotel, bookings with Phuket. We've now got the hotel bookings, you're saying, with Amsterdam. Is this a theme going forward? We're going to find a location, we're going to find hotels nearby, then we're going to sort of like offer a discounted room service or rooms rate?
When and where possible. So this is, we could spend an hour talking about this if we wanted to. So
a dry subject. I don't think people.
So different hotel chains operate differently in this regard. So a lot of the American hotel brands are much more able and equipped to offering hotel room block services. So your Marriotts, your Hyatts, your Hiltons, your IHGs, they have it in their DNA to make hotel room block booking links, right? Like that is a core service that they provide. Overseas, it's a bit of a mixed bag. If you have one of those chains, then they have the capability, but some of the local hotel brands may or may not have that capability. And so what ends up happening is, you might have a hotel that's like oh yeah, well, we can do this, but they'll need to call in or they'll need to email us. And those things on paper they work, but the reality is most people just want to click a link, punch in their details, and book that way. And so it's in the case of Amsterdam, the Rye venue itself, they actually have it as a service that they offer, and they kind of manage a third-party site that's the official booking site for Protour Amsterdam, and it'll look like you are, like on an extension of our site when you go and book your room for Amsterdam. So it'll look really good. And Los Angeles, we had two options there at the Moxie and the AC that were both just, at the just across the street, and those were both like Marriott chains. For World Championship Osaka, we are still exploring what some of the options there may be, but once again, there is a little bit of a challenge there in terms of what is the capability of what these hotels can provide, and the sort of concept of having a booking site where people can make a reservation. It's not commonplace everywhere around the world. It worked out in Phuket because, once again, 4 Points by Sheraton, Marriott site, and it was also connected to the venue. It's all one-in-one, like absolutely. They've got it all dialed in. So it is something that we strive for, but I do caution a little bit that it's not something that I can just 100% universally commit to, just because there's constraints, and typically the thing that people value the most is like price and proximity, and in the case of Osaka, it may turn out that one of the most proximate and most affordable options is like offered by like a local Japanese chain that maybe doesn't have this capability. In that case, on the World Championship Osaka site, we might say, here is a list of nearby hotels. Go ahead and make your reservation directly with them, right? So these are things that we just approach on a case-by-case basis with every event that we go through. That was a very long-winded answer about how hotel room blocks work in my experience, but I try and tell you how it is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So these things are complicated, but we try and make them uncomplicated for our guests, right? And so, that's my job and my team's job is to deal with that sort of stuff so that we can just make it so that people go to a website, they click the button, they do the thing, and they can just show up wherever the event is, right? Like, we need to make things as frictionless as possible. So,
thank you for that. It's everything that you have to consider. I just go, oh, where is it? Let's Google that, and then let's start Googling hotels around it. But everything, like you said, if everything's at a click of a button, I order them a ticket, I order them a room. It makes it easier for people to then want to come to the event as well, instead of the stress of sort of like working out sort of like 3 or 4 things just to get there. So let's continue on the Pro Tour train.
Yes.
So sort of like Pro Tour Los Angeles this year, Pro Tour sort of like Amsterdam this year. I would assume we're going to have a Pro Tour sort of like Asia Pacific at some point. Is it going to be, are you going to do it or hope to do it, that there are 3 Pro Tours in a year, so each region gets one, or are you going to stick with maybe we'll just rotate the 2 we have? Is there enough time in the calendar?
So I think the better way of looking at it is the Pro Tours and Worlds are the 3 things that rotate, right? Rather than looking at it as 3 Pro Tours and a Worlds, look at those 3 events as like a unit, and look at the 3 of them cycling rather than needing to add a 4th thing. The calendar, for the way that we have things set up, it's just we've modeled the ways to do a 3rd Pro Tour in a calendar year. There's ways to do it. It's really tight. Skirmish would just be gone. That would be the first thing. Like skirmish season would just not exist if we had to get rid of or if we had to create room for a third Pro Tour. So it would just go away. But yeah, at this moment, I just don't see that happening. I think that the two Pro Tours and World Championship, those three pro level events, I think they kind of just achieve what we're looking to achieve in terms of having something in the Americas, something in Oceania and APAC, and something in Europe every year. So and it'll just be those cycle of three that rotate. But most importantly, we need to just keep introducing more and more people to Flesh and Blood, and let people see the world's greatest pro play circuit that we have. And we just need to keep introducing people to play the game. I mean, that's the best thing that we can do at this point is continuing to grow, continuing to show people how you're having a good time, and how you've made friends through this, and how it's just a great thing to be a part of. So that's by far the biggest thing that we can do as a community, is just to keep introducing our friends to Flesh and Blood.
Yeah,
so
absolutely, and the streams certainly help. Sort of like Ethan, sort of like Savage Feats. His stream is fantastic. Sort of like but sort of like it's very hard for him to sort of like get everywhere. That's why sort of like Alan and myself sort of like jumped on board, and we've covered sort of the European side to some extent now. So are you looking at setting up hubs? Is there sort of like another person you're going to be looking at for sort of like Asia Pacific area? So you've got sort of like Ethan in the Americas, me and Alan at Tabletop 24 helping out, and then another team. So we kind of like try and make the stream all look the same, and seamless, going from one provider to the next.
Yeah. I mean, we want to obviously continue to elevate you and Alan, everything that you guys are doing. We want to continue investing in Ethan and Savage Feeds and the team over there. There's and then over in Southeast Asia and Oceania, we've kind of had a handful of folks involved, just because it's a trickier region where you've got just because you're an expert in Australia or whatever, it may not mean that like you can't just necessarily like float up to Japan or float up to Phuket or whatever. So these parts of the world are a little bit more segmented with more sort of like local options, I would say. But we are trying to do a little bit of knowledge transfer as well, right? So like helping, Alan obviously came over to LA to kind of see how, Ethan's setup was. Ethan is going to Phuket to work alongside Esmond, who is from Singapore. And, we're trying to get to a point where there can be a level of, consistency of what is going out over the Fab TCG YouTube channel. So yeah, I mean, we're just trying to invest in the people, invest in the teams around the world. So yeah, I mean, there'll probably be a few more people that enter the equation over time, because we can, plan to continue growing, and we don't want anyone to burn out, and we want to have like a sustainable path forward. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of who's already there, and some other folks that we try and elevate along the way as well. So
nice. Right, okay, the big one, World Championship in Osaka. There were rumours, sort of like it could be here. When I talked to you at Calling Birmingham, I said to you, it kind of makes sense that you would go to sort of like Asia Pacific for the one after Barcelona, and you were very cagey, and you were just like tight-lipped. You weren't saying anything, and a hunch I was right. So why Osaka? Was there any other place? Because obviously you're doing Tokyo. Was there any other venues sort of like in Japan that you were looking at?
Yes, we actually had multiple options on the table. Obviously we we would have hit Tokyo already, right? And I think as exciting as it would be to maybe be in Tokyo twice, it doesn't have the same kind of pop, right? Like I think we very much need to be hitting different cities with different events over the course of of the year, right? Like this isn't play the game and see Las Vegas or whatever, right? Like we need to be just being better represented geographically. So in the case of Osaka, yeah, I mean, it was a venue that really ticked up a lot of the boxes as far as the size that we would want, just the general look and feel. Also, being available on the dates that we need it to be available, and it's in a city that makes a lot of sense, right? Like if you are looking at a lot of the big cities in Japan, beyond Tokyo, honestly, Osaka is the number 2 behind Tokyo in terms of sort of like convention cities, in terms of ease of access, international connectivity, access to accommodation, the train network, these kinds of things. Of course, there's other cities too, like, Nagoya, and then the list starts going down, because then you start looking at, say like Shizuoka, Kyoto, Kobe, Fukuoka, Kitakyushu, Sendai, Sapporo, Hokkaido, right? Like, so all of those beautiful places, I've been to a handful of them, but you triage that into like what's the best option, and honestly, I think over time, that list that I just walked through, we will work our way through that list. Like, people will get chances to go to some of the more exotic places in Japan. I have no doubts people would be very excited in the future if there's an event in Kyoto, or if there's an event in Kobe, or if there's an event in Kitakyushu, or if there's an event in Sapporo, right? Like, these are all beautiful cities with a lot of charm, but let's just like we're not going to tell you the 5-year roadmap for Flesh and Blood today, like I'm also not going to tell you the 5-year roadmap for events, but let's enjoy it, and let's kind of go through this experience together of exploring the world. So yeah,
it was fantastic when you said it. It's always been a location that I would love to go to, Japan. And I was just like, oh my God, seriously. The thing is, I would want to go to explore, and I would feel like, okay, I'm going here to play. I don't know how I could swing that. I'll try, get my family along and just go, right, for 3 days, I'm not available, but I'll join you for the rest of it. It would just be, it's sort of like for some, it's going to be the trip of a lifetime just to go there.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the thing that fuels me the most is like when I scroll through Twitter later and I see the tweets from people saying, "Oh man, I've never been to Japan before, but I'm so excited to go to Tokyo," or, "Oh my gosh, World Championship was just announced in Osaka. I've always wanted to go to Asia. I'm booking my first trip, to Asia," this sort of thing. So the way that we get to have just even the slightest little bit of impact into people's lives, and to help bring people around the world to explore and discover everything that's out there, and their surroundings. It's that's kind of the thing that definitely makes you feel a little good on the inside, makes you makes it a little easy to go to sleep at night knowing that you are just having like a positive impact on people's lives, and some of it can be for themselves. Some of it, there's a really lovely family that is in Indonesia, and it's the one where it's the dad and his 2 sons that he brought into playing Flesh and Blood, and I love every one of their posts where he's like, yeah, I'm taking my kids up to play in the Battle Harden Kuala Lumpur, or I'm taking them, we're doing a family vacation to Tokyo, or whatever it may be. And the fact that he gets to explore the world, and Flesh and Blood gets to be a medium in which he gets to explore the world with his kids. That's just extremely satisfying. So yeah, it's good, man. It's good times, Barry. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me. I digress. Another game.
Yeah.
There was a chap. The Greenwell family did the same. So it was father and two sons.
Yeah.
His son was about 11 at the time, and they called him the Timinator because he basically, everyone just went, "Oh, he's a kid. I'll destroy him." But he was so good. But what you would do was if you played the father, he would give you sort of like a badge. And if you played the son would give you a badge, and the other son as well. If you collected all three, you went to find mum, and she gave you the fourth. So you had the whole set. So, it's whether or not sort of like, they start doing stuff like that to make sort of like collector items as well for other people to, to celebrate their time as, being in that location as a family. You can see some community stuff coming out.
Oh yeah, and the spontaneous nature that sometimes comes of it, because you go and you visit a city and you're surrounded by people that are like-minded, that are going there with you, and all of a sudden, maybe you thought you were going somewhere by yourself, but once it all sorts itself out, you're actually there surrounded by a bunch of your close friends, and maybe you're tacking on a few extra days and going to a theme park, or you're tacking on a few extra days and you're going to some ancient historical site or a museum or a gala or whatever it may be. So it's really cool. Yeah.
Many times. We certainly saw that with players with Barcelona. Either going out before or afterwards, and then just like, I was very jealous.
The number of people that I saw the day after at the Sagrada Familia was like incredible. I feel like I ran into a couple dozen people there on the Monday afterwards.
But it's even when you go out at night after you finish the event. After you finish the event, it doesn't finish because all the players are all in the local restaurant. So you just like. Everyone you've sort of like, had a little bit of a chat, because you've sat opposite of them or sat next to them, and you bump into all these people all the time. So it's just a massive celebration. It just doesn't stop in the arena. It just carries on.
Yeah.
I think that's about it. We've covered most of the stuff. I'm so looking forward to sort of like everything that's coming this year. The new set. I want to see that premiere event, unfold, and then I'll look forward to, obviously sort of like Tampa and that premiere event.
Yes.
Hopefully, I'll catch up with you in Warsaw. You should be there, shouldn't you? Are you going to be there?
Fortunately, I will not be in Warsaw. You'll be joined by Nico there, but I do have to pick and choose some spots, unfortunately, and with Tokyo the following week, I will be I will be going to Tokyo, but Nico will be there, so you'll be joined by Nico. It'll be a good event in Warsaw. I don't know if a lot of people noticed this yet, but Warsaw is a 30K calling, so it's got the enhanced prize pool. We do expect a very strong turnout in Warsaw, in Poland. So to our European fans, we know that you take Classic Constructed very seriously. We know that the Polish community is very serious about playing competitively. And so, we've put the stakes out there. So $30,000 USD on the line in Warsaw in May. So I hope for all of our European fans, you make it over to Warsaw. You enjoy your national championships coming up this summer. Obviously, see you all in Amsterdam at the end of July. And we also just announced the calling in Lyon, France. At the end of September. After the release of set 14. And then we'll see what else comes up. There's obviously a lot of battle hardens that I didn't even have a chance to mention there. And then the world premiere will be coming back to Europe in 2025. So there we have it.
Lots of things to look forward to. Thank you so much for your time. Put your feet up on the rare occasion that you're at home. Or have you actually got time for that?
just briefly, because I'll be on a plane in like 5 days to Phuket. But I'm so looking forward to. I mean, it's just as much it's a working holiday for me. You know, I mean, I have my things that I have to work through, but I hope that I get to enjoy the event. You know, just as much as everyone else does there. It's a fun one when we get to do some novel and new and exciting things. So yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Thank you so much, Trevor. Hopefully I'll catch up with you again, sort of like you know, when you do a big announcement, I'll be like, Trevor, do you want to come on again?
Minimally, I will see you in Amsterdam.
Yes.
So
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. Brilliant. So thank everybody for watching. Like and subscribe to the channel. You can join my Patreon and get your discounts there from Buy the Same Token and Thistle Tavern. And I will see you soon with my coverage for the ProQuest season, which starts in Living Realms on the 14th of April. The meta report to follow. Thank you so much. Thank you. Here's Trevor.
Cheers.